You guys are about to watch a conversation I had with the Right Wing Coalition. In this discussion, we go over a variety of topics, everything from the Constitution and its relevancy, the morality of not only America, but the West as a whole, the future of America, and the differences between the left-wing hive mind versus the right-wing individualism, and much more. We talk about a lot of stuff in this video, as you can tell from how long it is. All I would have to say is be sure to check out his channel. I'm going to put links to all of his socials below and a few other things. So be sure, if you don't already, to go subscribe to him, show him support. And with that all being said, enjoy this conversation with the Right Wing Coalition. And oh my gosh, like nobody does anything. They'll ask for advice, they'll look up tutorials, but they don't ever make stuff. And it kind of pisses me off because they're not taking action.
I 100% agree with that. I feel like, and same here. A lot of people have reached out, and everybody's so focused on the process and rather than like the inherent heart of what you're doing. And that's kind of the opposite of my approach, and I think yours too, where like I thought I had a different perspective on both. The only videos I had kind of imagined in my head were the Fuentes and the Peterson one. And yeah, like the video, the audio, all that shit, like that was ancillary to what I was trying to say. And so many people are like, okay, I'm going to drop $300 on the best mic possible, and I'm going to get this lighting, whatever setup. And obviously we don't show our faces, but I mean, I didn't care about that stuff. Is not what's important, right? It's your actual, it's your content and your words. And you're right. There's a lot of people that just, they withhold from taking the action, and I get it too, but I don't know how you feel specifically, but like I'm not in this to be some like F-list celebrity or get praise, right? Like I truly believe that like what I have to say is important just on its substance alone, and like I don't have that ulterior motive that's like a lot of people do, where they just like want to be an influencer. You know what I mean? Like even the loss of my anonymity is not out of like the pursuit of slingshotting me into the right wing influencer position. It's just like, okay, well, I kind of have to do that, or I'm being a hypocrite.
No, I mean 100%. Like I don't even consider myself a YouTuber. It's like, yeah, I play the game and I make the thumbnails and I do the titles because that's what's required. Like you have to do that.
Thumbnails are good also, by the
thank
way.
you. Yours too, dude. Your stuff, it's like you figured out an aesthetic and it works because the aesthetics are important because that's how you get people in front of the video. But it's like, dude, that's not why I'm doing all this either. I actually think you especially, you're very authentic, even when you're writing. You know, you write these scripts, and like with me, the reason why I don't write scripts is because, first of all, I'm not anywhere near as good as you, but when I write, I make myself sound different than what I actually am. So it's not authentic. With you, it's authentic, and people can recognize that, and it resonates with them. And you actually believe in what you're saying, and that's why people, they gravitate towards that. It means something. So all these other people that are just going out of their way to spend money and do this other, all this whatever to make videos. And it's like, yeah, if you want to do that, fine, but at least make stuff. There's people I meet and they don't do anything. It's like you don't have to be perfect at writing or perfect at whatever. Just start taking action because that's what we need.
Well, thank you. I sincerely appreciate that. I think that you are like the opposite side of the same coin, in that your authenticity comes through by your sheer like unadulterated presentation, where I've actually been thinking about that myself, of like, if I am still coming across as authentic, because and you've probably experienced this far more than I have, but I've noticed just how much people will hang on specific words. And I know, especially with my Jordan Peterson video, that's the one video of all the ones I've done where I didn't understand the gravity of like how important it is to get your words right. I mean, I really dressed up that narrative to kind of be a little bit mythologized, which is, you know, what I'm doing with my book as well. But like, it kind of made me sound like I was this like simp bitch for Jordan Peterson. Like I was not. Like I wasn't even a Peterson fan. By the time he went to rehab, I wasn't even a Peterson fan. So, but that made me realize like, oh, I need to be really careful with what I say. And even on some level, at the end of my Gen Z video, like I just feel like I maybe implemented a little bit too much emotion. So, I mean, how do you feel about that? Because you're going off the cuff, and if I was going off the cuff, I mean, I would be it would probably hinder me a lot because, especially my perspective now, it's like I'd be so concerned that whatever I was going to say was going to be perceived wrong or maybe not sound intelligent or not get my point across. How do you feel about that, given that you don't have a script, which is really admirable, by the way?
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. And by the way, the Peterson video is really good. I know people that, like, even when I've talked about your channel to like different people, they don't really like, if they didn't know who you were, if I like showed them, they'd be like, oh, I've seen the Peterson video, or I've seen, yeah. So it's like, I know a lot of people really like that one. So I think that's actually a very good video. And the Gen Z video is arguably one of the most important things like ever made. It's amazing. And I'm not glazing you, dude. It's like, I'm being honest. Like it's really good. And with, you know, with me, with not like writing scripts, it's like, I'm gonna be honest, it's like that clip of Alex Jones when he was on Joe Rogan. It's like, I'm a little bit retarded. You know, it's like I say stupid shit all the time. I'm not some genius, so I know I'm gonna say something that makes me look dumb. I know people are gonna make fun of the way I talk sometimes. I might repeat myself because I am just kind of ranting sometimes. So it's not perfect, and it's kind of like rough around the edges. And yeah, you get criticisms for that, but I just kind of have decided I'm not going to care about that stuff.
Yeah.
And it just works. It's been working so far. But I mean, yeah, like I definitely will say things that I could have worded it better. I could have explained it better, or I'll forget stuff. So it's not the most foolproof plan. So arguably, maybe I should have notes or something, but
you don't have any notes. You just freeball it totally.
I think the last time I had notes is when I was talking about, it was like a video I made like a month or two ago. So I haven't done notes in a while. Sometimes I'll read articles, but besides that, I'm just kind of yelling, which has its pros, but I mean, you definitely, like you're not going to sound as intelligent, at least me, because my vocabulary isn't that extensive. Like, I'm not some genius. I didn't go to college. I'm just a basic dude. So it's like,
You've become a personality, whereas I don't think I am, and I don't think that's necessarily a good or bad thing. But I mean, I see your tweets. Your tweets get tons of engagement, and your fans are real fans. I mean, I listened to you on Jay Burden. Is that his name?
Yeah, Jay Burden. Jay Burden. Yeah, I didn't ask if that was his real name, but
yeah, I've seen his stuff before, and that was really cool to see you on. But I mean, he was clearly like a true fan of your presence and personality. Whereas like, I feel like for myself, it's purely the logic of my analysis, which, you know, again, it can be good and bad, because when I have a take that people don't agree with, I'm not viewed as like, oh, well, he's still, you know, like I'm still, I mean, maybe that it's perceived this way, that like there's not that fandom there. Whereas with you, I think that's not the case. But I was curious because my Fuentes video pretty much got like mostly praise. And there was a lot of people that were just like, I guess, shit libs that were angry about it. But then the Peterson one was really when I started getting true like vitriolic responses. And I'm embarrassed to say that it did bother me at first. I don't care anymore. The only thing I care about is when my point doesn't get received like I wish it had. Like, well, I didn't mean that. And if I had just clarified XYZ, then it would have come across differently. How was that for you? I mean, I'm sure you've gotten at least some hate. Like, did it bother you? I was surprised, honestly, at how much it bothered me at first. And not like I was like crying about it, but you know what I mean? Like it was a little bit biting.
I mean, yeah, it does bother me, and I can see, because what you're doing is you're actually writing a script, you're thinking about things logically, so you're putting a lot of mental effort into that stuff beforehand. So when you start getting attacked, that's going to make anybody who's like normal feel some type of way, 100%. But I get hate all the time. Every time I get like a group of fans, I'll make a video where I say something and it pisses that new group off. And so
Yeah.
I've
Yeah, I don't really care anymore, but it did take, and that's why with the book coming out, under my name, I needed that preparation of like, most of these people are honestly just idiots, and that are hating. Not that my takes are so brilliant that you couldn't reasonably disagree, but the point is just that like it doesn't matter. Like you shouldn't like hold the weight of that. But I definitely needed that first go round of like, yeah, this is what it's like to be somewhat public facing, because man, I mean, the book, like I said, it's gonna just absolutely, wreck my life on some level. But
and
it's gotta be said.
no, it's like, and I have a lot of respect for you doing this, because it is crazy, because people do take things further online as well. So the hate you get for like a video, like it's taking a video, I can't even imagine what it's going to be like for a book. Like it's not going to be easy, but I definitely feel like you, of all people, you're kind of made for this. Like if there's definitely a purpose that you have in your life, it's got to be this, because you are extremely good at it. And I think something that guys like us have to kind of think about is that our like thought process, the things we kind of believe in, the things we're advocating for, it's heretical to the established ideas. And so we're going to get attacked constantly. And especially when somebody like you, who's articulating it so like well, to where, I mean, anybody can sit down and watch like your video, and, I know you're saying like you might not get a point across the way you wanted, or people might not receive it, but ultimately I feel like most people can get a whole lot more from your style of content, because it's just so well thought out and it's so well written. And even with you, with like the way you're talking now, like you're a very thoughtful person. I think you would actually do very well if you were streaming. Like if you're streaming and talking to people and stuff, I think you would actually be pretty good at it. But by the way, is that something you would get into? Is like streaming or collaborations, like on that style of front?
Like, I mean, so I intentionally, I got asked to do a few podcasts early on, not from anybody big. I'm gonna go on Foul Ball Productions because he's been a fan, or I guess not a fan, but he's liked what I've been doing since the beginning. And I had told him originally that I wasn't gonna do podcasts because I was, like I said, afraid that I would say something that down the line would be held against me. And not that I was like afraid, but it's like, come on, I just dealing with the consistency of like, oh, he said that, some minor gripe about like foreign policy, and now he's going back on. It's like, okay, I just don't care about like fighting that battle. I mean, this is really, I did one with Benjamin Boyce. I don't know if you know who he is, but I'd been a fan. He hasn't posted it, but I'd been a fan of his for years. And so when he asked me to, I was like, I got to do it. I think I did okay. But like, this is the first real kind of extemporaneous speaking that I've done, at least recorded. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't think I would prefer to have a podcast where, I talk I certainly could not do what Nick does, not even close. But
yeah, me either. That's crazy.
It is crazy. But my only reservation would just be that I'm not being thoughtful enough in my discourse, because I do take a lot of pride and care, and I'm glad it seems to come across as like I really do think about what I'm saying on a really deep level, in the sense that I try and like build the frame for the listener, because one thing I've kind of learned, especially going through my 20s, and I'm 27 now.
Oh, same.
Oh yeah. But what I've kind of learned is that just people cannot read your mind, and that sounds like a like trite thing to say, but it's really true. I remember when I was younger, I would talk to people, whether it was like girls, friends, even bosses. And in my head, I'm like, oh, well, they know what I mean, or they know they have the context to imply what I'm saying. And now I feel the opposite. I'm like, no, I'm assuming that they know nothing. And I am now responsible for articulating everything, and also being considerate of their time. So like, you gotta, again, this is just my opinion, but each of my sentence tries to do as much as possible without being, too dense or needlessly like flashy. Like, I don't want to use big words. I mean, obviously on some level you have to articulate things, but the people, and you see this so much out of the left. I mean, they're such intellectual LARPers when they use, like just the most absurd words to try and get a simple point across. And, but this is kind of a roundabout answer, but my point really is that like, it's a little bit oppositional. The podcast thing is a little bit oppositional to kind of my intent. So it does worry me a little bit that maybe I'm not coming across as inauthentic, but not putting out what I would be able to put out if I sat down and wrote, a 2,000 word essay on it, where I can really refine my point. And there's a, there's a way to lead a narrative that takes a lot of time. I mean, you can honestly do it well off the cuff, but it just doesn't compare, certainly for myself, if I gave a 5-minute talk on something versus 5 minutes of a scripted outline for an argument. And so I don't know, if people wanted it, I guess I would do it, but and if I had to or something, like I can't fit. I don't know if you have Patreon, but bro, I don't have time to offer anything for the Patreon right now. I mean, dude, my job is honestly kind of suffering a little bit. I'm getting my master's degree right now, and I honestly might just drop out of that when the book comes out, because I do not have time. I can barely get another script out right now with all the other stuff I have going on. But at the same time, maybe a podcast would be good in the sense that I wouldn't need a script for it. I could just tap in and put it out, maybe like as a Patreon. But have you looked into that at all, like monetizing this? Because I'm not driven by the money for it. I mean, I understand that we will need to, and especially if I have to quit my job, it's like you don't have another choice. But I'm just so uninterested in like, creating this alternate option for people of, hey, if you want to see this, come behind this paywall. And how do you feel about that? Have you even looked into it yet?
I mean, there's been people that have asked me about Patreon. I don't really feel like I have enough value to offer people. I am monetized on YouTube for now, but a lot of my videos get demonetized.
Really? I just monetized mine.
Oh, for real? It's pretty like decent. It's just I've noticed, and I probably won't say some of the phrases here, but there are definitely like phrases you can't use. It's kind of
Really?
yeah, it's kind of crazy. I'll probably tell you. I can message you him later, but it's pretty
Yeah.
much anything related to them boys. If you know,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
I'm not
dude,
even kidding. It's crazy, bro. I made a video where I tested. It was a geopolitical video, and I tested out. I had like this intro edit that I did, and I tested out the audio to see if it would let me monetize the audio by just
I didn't even
uploading.
know that's how it worked.
Yeah, by just like I uploaded the basic like 4-minute clip to YouTube to see if it would approve it, and it did. And then I
Mm.
uploaded sections, and then it approved those sections. And then the one part where I was talking about, you know, it was like,
Hmm.
yeah, your monetization is extremely limited, and basically it made like a quarter. So it's like,
Man,
yeah,
yeah,
but I don't care. Like, I'm not somebody who's very materialistic. I'm
yeah, me
just
neither.
not. I have a good life. I have good friends. I don't need money.
Yeah.
Would I like to do this and not work a normal job and focus on doing this? Yeah, but I don't want to make a video talking about a war happening somewhere or like something going on with ICE, and then I got to stop in the middle of the video and talk about like Ridge Wallet or fucking
Yeah, see,
Raytheon
I couldn't
headphones.
do
It's
that
like,
crap.
bro, like
I agree.
yeah, here's a Raid Shadow Legends. It's like, bro, nah. But
Well, I so I didn't even realize that I did this, but in one of my videos about the Fuentes Piers Morgan thing, it's like I was like making fun of Finkelstein for selling his book, and then at the end of my video, I was like, "Oh, by the way, I'm coming out with a book," and I was like, but then I thought about it, and I was like, "Okay, well, what else am I supposed to do?" Because I saw one comment, and it was honestly very positive, but I saw one guy. He's like, "Are you really trying to sell your book?" I'm like, "What do you want me to just not say anything about it?" And also, dude, you don't get rich off that at all. I mean, it's really like this thing would have to sell millions for me to even get anything of substance. But yeah, I the advertisements, no, and I don't want to be beholden to anybody as well, and
mm,
that's why like Nick, I think his even though he's so brutal on the super chats, I mean, it honestly is kind of hard for me to watch because he's just so brutal. But um, it's funny, obviously, but I do feel bad for some of the people because they obviously look up to him.
mm,
And but at least he's not, he's not at risk of getting a sponsorship dropped or something like that. But I'm like you in that the only interest I have in monetizing and my brother, we might start selling something, but again, it's more of just like to try and build a community, and it's not gonna probably make substantial money, but I just need enough for sustenance.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
it really, and another thing too with I see this like at a guys like Tim Pool where obviously it's their job, but at the same time they are compelled to make 3 videos a day out of whatever has happened in the world. And I don't know about you, but I have to actually be inspired for whatever I'm going to write about. I can't, I mean, there's been a few times where I've been like, yeah, really haven't gotten a video out in a week or two. And I need to give a take on something. But I don't like operating that way. I'm actually like, I'm a pretty creative guy. I've actually, when I was like 23, I published a novel
oh wow.
and, um, but my job is complete like executive operations. I don't mean that like I'm like some big executive. My point is that there's no creativity in my job. It's very like order and
Mm,
systematic because when I when I'm operating creatively in accordance with like strict rules or regulations, and even on some level, the book right now, luckily I have so much inherent drive to do it that this isn't a problem. But it's like if you're told you have 3 days to write 5,000 words, it's like your barometer becomes a metric rather than kind of the spark that actually funds what you're doing. And I don't like operating that way. And that does worry me a little bit about stepping into this, if I'm able to do it like full time, is beginning to have to operate that way on some level. Do you feel the same? Like it's kind of, from what I can tell, you kind of just, when you feel it, you're like, all right, I'm making a video right now. At least that's what it seems like from Twitter.
Yeah, that's actually how it is. I have to, like, I can't, it's like, yeah, sometimes something will pop up and I'll feel like, all right, I should give myself some type of deadline to do something, because I don't want to just, be dead in the water. I want to actually work towards something. And not every single one of my videos has to be the greatest thing ever, because that's not the point is. And I get the creative thing, because I've made other types of stuff before, like other types of content, just for a creative itch. And I understand like what you're talking about when you say, when you're working creatively with rules, it's very, it's almost like you're kind of chained. You don't have like total freedom. And sometimes limitations can be good, and sometimes, because it can force you to be more creative, but it's not always good if it's all the time. Like you said with Tim Pool, he's become very good at kind of talking about the same thing 3 times a day, because he has to. He's got employees, right? And there's nothing wrong with you talking about your book or you going on a podcast, which, by the way, Foul Ball, I love that guy. I love Matt. He's great. So it's a good idea
I'm
for
excited.
you to go on there. So he's actually very,
dude, we should
smart.
Honestly, at some point, we should all 3 hop on something together.
Dude, I'm down. I already told him, it's like, I'm more than down to have a conversation with him again. Cause he's a great dude. I really like him. So that's good that you said yes to that. But like, I get how you feeling like talking about your book at the end of the video, it kind of makes you feel a certain way, but there's nothing wrong with that, because you are actively making things, you're creating things. And with the way things are now, you are going to have to sell stuff eventually. Like eventually, if I want to take this to the next step, I am going to have to, maybe monetize a little bit more, or do whatever. And that's fine. There's a line everybody knows, there's a certain line. And I feel like as long as you don't cross that and become some type of joke where you're just constantly shilling random shit, you're good. People can understand. And with kind of operating with limitations on YouTube, I've come to the conclusion that YouTube as a whole, I think it benefits our movement more the longer guys like you or I can stay on YouTube without getting taken off. So I have a Rumble, and I'll do exclusives on there where I have no limitations, and I get nothing from Rumble, and I don't care. Like it's about creating value for the people who are watching,
How big is your following on Rumble? Because again, this is something that if I cared more about like the business of it, and I use business loosely, but you know what I mean? Like I would be double posting to Rumble. I would be, whatever, putting it on Spotify. And I don't have the like, again, I don't care so much about maximizing all these outputs. And I tried to do the Rumble thing because some video got flagged for something. I can't remember, but, and I was like, oh, I'm going to get taken off. And dude, I got like 60 followers. Like nobody went over to follow me. And I was like, I mean, what, like, I honestly haven't even looked at it in like at least a month. But I mean, it was like my Fuentes video at like 65 views, and it's got over 800,000 on YouTube. Have you been able to build a following on Rumble?
I have. So by the way, I follow you on Rumble.
Good. Okay.
So when you
I follow you as well.
Okay. Hell yeah. But I think I just hit 1,300 on Rumble.
Oh, dude, that's good.
Yeah, pretty much every video I make now usually gets around 1,000, and I don't like. That's obviously, you don't get any money. Like I don't get any money from Rumble, but that's not the point. The point is that like if I ever get taken off YouTube, or if I ever get censored or blacklisted, the day that happens, if it ever happens, I am gonna just go nuts on Rumble. Like it's gonna be all day, every day.
Yeah, I'm pretty worried, honestly, that when the the book drops, again, this is presumptive, right? Like, but I'm pretty worried that YouTube, if they catch wind of what's in it, that they're just going to ban me, because I'm actually pretty surprised that I have not gotten any substantial strikes against me. And I see a lot of people that are like, you know, they're like, why aren't you talking about them boys? And I'm like, dude, why do you think? Like, you think I didn't figure that one out years ago? Like, it's a matter of politics, right? Like, you can't just be freeballing it. But even my Gen Z video, I was pretty dang surprised that didn't get taken down, because I called it out. But that freaked me out, even monetizing it, because it said, and this is probably true, but it was like, we do a manual review of your account.
Oh yeah, that's just some Indian.
Like,
it's
yeah, I'm sure. But I was like, oh well, I don't even want to monetize it, because that then some even if it's an Indian, it's gonna be an Indian shitlib, and he's gonna go through and realize that, like, this is, you know, pretty extreme rhetoric, and I thought that might get me banned, just them doing that manual review. So
yeah, I mean, I think I thought the same thing too when I started clicking when I first got monetized, and it really is just the dim boys thing. Like, I'm not even gonna lie, bro. That's kind of where the bar is, and I will have to say, because I've talked about this before with a few different people, and that's why I was bringing up like Rumble, and kind of the way Rumble works and the way we should kind of think about it is not the same as YouTube, but as a second platform where we can build. But you can't just post your videos there and expect people to follow you. You have to kind of put a little bit more effort. And that's why I do the exclusives, because I want people to have value, and it works. Because when I tell people I have an exclusive, I'll get like 3 times the amount of views on that one video on Rumble. And the whole point of it is that I had a conversation with people. There's going to be a lot more censorship coming to the internet.
Oh yeah.
I think the first or second week of February, the Senate is going to be doing this whole week where they're going to be reviewing anti-Semitism law. They're going to be putting some laws in place. And there's actually, it's crazy, because the group that's been working on coming up with the policies, it's this Them Boys group, to say the least, and they got funded by our tax-paying dollars. And they weren't even supposed to get funded. They actually failed their initial review for this humanitarians project that Trump has. And then once Trump found out about, you know, them failing the group, he fired everybody and then passed the funding for them. So that's a whole other thing I've talked about. But basically, this year, I would imagine censorship is going to get a little bit more, if not more hardcore, they're going to get smarter for sure.
I think so too. I mean, I was really hoping that X would take the opportunity to create like some level of operability with videos. I mean, it's fine, but it could be way better. And if they did, it would really do a lot of work. Now, that place is certainly not perfect. I think my reach has drastically been diminished.
Really?
I mean, I don't have that many followers, like about just under 2,000. But I mean, I did look at some of my tweets, and it was like, you know, up for 12 hours, and it got like 50 views. And I'm like, how is that even possible? But yeah, I think you're right, and it does freak me out a little bit. But at this point, dude, I just don't. I mean, I obviously don't want to get banned, but I am so tired of like tiptoeing around crap. I'm just done like living these life of lies. Like it bothers me. So even when I just go to the grocery store and I'm like, where did all these third world immigrants even come from? Like what? Every facet of life is so much different now, and we're just told to shut up about it. And it goes from, you know, whether you're at the grocery store or whether you're on YouTube, I'm just done with it, man. I really, and there is that level of apathy where it's not apathy in the sense that like I'm not driven anymore, but it's like, you know what? Cast the die. Whatever happens, happens. I'm not gonna do this bullshit game anymore. I don't know if you feel about that, but
No, I mean,
I'm certainly at that point.
yeah, you're already like at the point where it's like, fuck it. It's like let's
Yeah.
just be
Let's
upfront
just
and let's
throw
just be
down,
yeah,
honestly.
let's just
Yeah.
be real about this shit, and let's see whoever goes toe to toe with me. Let's see who fucking stands after, and basically, it's like yeah, dude. But the only thing I would say, and this is a conversation I had with some other YouTubers, and it's the reason why, like I keep bringing up Rumble, the reason why I'm focusing on growing there as well, because guys like you, especially, the longer you stay on YouTube, the better like the chances of our movement succeeding. 100% of the time.
Same with you,
And
obviously.
yeah, and so like it's kind of the idea that we do also have to acknowledge that we are in a position where we are at a disadvantage. So any
Yeah.
advantage we do have, we have to be a little bit tactical with it. And so that's why it's like I fucking get angry because it's so fucking unfair. Like all the rules that are in place, what's being shoved down our throats. Like it's honestly insulting, and it pisses me off.
It is.
I get it like 100%. But you also have to kind of like realize it's like, look, what's going to be better for what's happening? Me kind of surviving here so I can reach more people, or me getting banned and then I'm kind of exiled to an audience that already thinks like me. And it's like, yeah, like I go off, I rant all the time. Like I say pretty unhinged shit, and I get it. But I do have to kind of remind myself, it's like, look, maybe I should be a little bit more careful because it's probably going to do a lot more good if I stay in the fight. And
yeah, you are right. That is correct.
And like guys like you, especially with what you're doing with the book and stuff, the longer you can keep going, the better, because the algorithm has kind of blessed you with a platform. It's given you an ability to speak to people, and that means something. Most people who get involved with this stuff, they don't ever get an audience. They're not able to resonate with people. They can't write the same way you do. So I understand like the fuck it mentality. And with the book, like go off. But I think you can still do stuff like with the book and not get banned off YouTube. I think that's possible.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm not going to lie, it's probably going to be difficult. But for you taking that extra step to kind of try and preserve yourself here and stay in the game, that's going to do a whole lot more good. And I'm sure you've thought about stuff like that before.
Well, yeah. I mean, I really think that most of my videos, they're not that objectionable. Now, I am, and I'm sure you're at this point too, where, I mean, I read my last chapter on the JQ, and I'm so desensitized to this now. I'm like, how is this even controversial at all? And then, you know, obviously when you take a step back, you're like, to any standard uninvolved person, this is like legitimately blasphemy. And I've really tried on YouTube to be, like I said, precise with what I'm saying and avoid the obvious landmines. Like there is, I understand that if I were to say certain things that it would put me on a fast track to getting banned. But yeah, I you know, there's kind of tempering that view, and it's a little bit hard at this point. You know, when we're not prominent like a Fuentes or even I don't even know who would be a good comparison, but whatever that tier between us and Fuentes, and there might be a few tiers, but you know what I'm saying, where you start looking at it like a true like war strategy, and you start weighing start weighing like pros and cons in a way that's you can kind of view it more three-dimensional. Now it's like, well, if I signed out and never uploaded a thing again, like it would be as if none of this even happened. And because we haven't like broken through to the point where it's like, yeah, we're doing this full time, and um, it's a little bit hard to adopt that full mindset because on some level you're like, well, is this even going to matter anyway? But you're right. I need to start thinking more in that realm for sure. But it is a hard adjustment when you're like, well, I don't make any money from this. Um, Nobody knows who I am, and it's like, is this going to amount to anything? It's hard to really predict that. But yeah, there's a level of faith in that too. I think that I'm trying to just remind myself of, like, just trust that the path will continue laying itself out.
No, I mean,
You feel that way?
I kind of get it. Like the way I've been thinking about like the overall like journey, if you want to call, I hate the fact that I fucking used that word. That sounds so like gay, but the fact that like the path that we're currently on,
Yeah.
I've kind of been trying to trust God more with
Yeah,
the
me too.
way like these things play out, because I know that we are on the side of good. Like you take a look at the world, you take a look at society, and you see all the horrible things that happen to people. And to people like us, to people who aren't even like us. This society is it's going down a path to total destruction. Everyone knows
Yeah.
it. And so
Yep.
I've been trying to trust and put my faith in God. And
Yeah.
I've kind of also been trying to realize that it's not really about me. Like if I don't get some type of career from this, which that's not my goal, but
Yeah.
if that's not if my whole purpose is just to make a couple videos, and if that does good enough to where it inspires somebody and then I get banned and that's the end of it, as long as I can fulfill what is needed of me, and if
Yeah.
that actually makes a difference. And like I said, I want to say this is like, I really think your videos make a difference. Like when people watch that, especially the Gen Z video and also America for the Americans, because I think that was one of the first videos I saw from you because one of my subscribers recommended your channel. And it's like, dude, that was like a home run. Like that stuff resonates with people. So even if you were to sign out, don't think for a second.
I'm not going to do that.
Yeah,
of course,
don't do
but
that. Please don't. But even if it were to happen, that is going to have an effect. That did do something. That did inspire somebody. I mean, like the fact that you have people reaching out to you to ask you for advice, people trying to talk to you, have conversations. It means something. And yeah, you are going to have certain people that are going to try to just talk to you because they want you for views or whatever. You are going to have people that are genuinely wanting a conversation. Like that's what I care about, is actually
Yeah.
talking about this stuff. And that's why I like, kind of going off the cuff, because
Yeah.
these are ideas. I might not be the most articulate person. I might not be a great speaker, but these ideas, they matter, and they get people to think. They get people to kind of see where we're at and where we could go. And that means
Yeah.
a lot. That's like priceless. So I think we do have to strategize a little bit more, because you and I and people who are above us, maybe a little bit in those tiers between us and Nick or whatever, we've been given a platform. And so it's kind of like now we have a responsibility to kind of
Yeah.
be a little bit smarter, because it is a war.
I totally agree. And also, you certainly don't give yourself enough credit. But, when we talk about things like the fact that you want to engage with ideas, you want to kind of flesh out what you think, I think the biggest distinction between us and certainly the left, but I would say most facets of political discourse in America and likely the West, is I think that we are the only subset that consistently is actually looking to prove themselves wrong. Like, I remember when I was like at start of 2020. I mean, I was fairly red pilled, and but I was kind of red pilled in the sense that I was like, well, this is a communist takeover, and we just need to kind of get back to like, some semblance of 90s liberalism. But the thing that I noticed the whole time was I was desperate to be wrong. Like I was desperate for it not to be a big deal. I was desperate to be overthinking things, and it was honestly tragic to continue peeling back the layers and keep finding out that no, it's actually significantly worse than you thought. But I still would like to be proven wrong. And there's a real distinction between young Gen Z men, I think, in that we don't have an ideology. And what I mean by that is in the literal sense of like we aren't, and obviously some people are, but I think on the dissident right, like we're and this is kind of the whole proposition of my book. It's like we see all this failure around us, and we want to figure out what is going wrong in the system that is resulting in clearly unacceptable outcomes. And the next step is to resolve it and to fix it. It's not to say that, well, we resolve it by, creating a classless society. Whereas like if you're a communist, leftist, whatever, you're trying to fit your prescription before you evaluate the outcome. And I really believe that separates us in terms of intellectual honesty, because by definition, you really can't be radicalized in the same sense as if you're trying to do something purely based on the beauty of its idea. And this, again, people are starting to come to this conclusion that so many people think that all these ideas are so beautiful that they're entitled to be true. And again, this is not my unique assessment. This is becoming very obvious for a lot of people. I don't think I have a single opinion that applies to. And maybe you disagree, but there's not one thing that I think. Now, my opinions have been crafted through 27 years of experience, especially after the liberal mirage was basically shattered in front of all of our eyes, where it's like, okay, no, sorry, we're not all the same on the inside. I don't care how great of a conversation you had with some random immigrant when you were walking in the park and you're like, you know what, they're exactly like me, and we just need to basically hold hands and sing together and that it all works out. Like, I will dismiss that stuff because it's not worth having the conversation for. I mean, I think about the transgender stuff and I'm like, why are we even talking about this?
Yeah.
It is so beneath the discourse to even engage with something like that it's absurd. But I don't think that, because I obviously do have like a theological opposition to it. But the point is I haven't always thought that, and it's never been, the point hasn't been that I'm so dedicated to, my like doctrinal outline of what I believe. It's like, no, I've seen this fail consistently in reality, which tells me it's not inherently true. If you want to show me how it is inherently true, fine. I'm happy to change my mind on it. And that probably was a little bit too much on the same point. But what do you think about that? Do you kind of have the same view perspective wise? Like, are you dedicated to an ideology? I just really am not.
I honestly haven't really thought about it in that like way, but that makes a whole lot of sense, especially when you talk to a lot of the people that are kind of in the same circles as us. It's 100% true what you're saying. All these other people are essentially looking at reality and they're trying to fit reality into their narrative, into their belief, because they have to. It's like if they don't, it's going to break their minds and they're just going to go crazy. But like what we're doing, instead of trying to shape reality into whatever we want it to be, we're just trying to understand reality and accept it for what it is. We're trying to be realists. And
well, I didn't mean to cut you off. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, and this is something that most people don't really understand. But like Niccolo Machiavelli, he's always viewed in such a negative light, and you might disagree with some of his views and approaches, but his whole point was, let's look at the political science of this. And the analogy I use, which maybe it's not very good, but it's like, if you were looking at all the kings in history and you notice that every single one of them did the same thing to get the crown. Like, let's say they had to kill their brother, kill their father, whatever. Like, you can reasonably conclude that that is a prerequisite to whatever outcome there is. And I think that the dissident right is starting to think in that manner of like, let's again figure out what's going on. And I made this point in my Fuentes video, which some people it resonated with, and some people thought it was stupid. I don't know how you could think it was irrelevant, but like, if you do not get your diagnosis correct, your prescription basically by definition cannot be correct. And if you were looking at like a medical, in a medical analogy, it's like, some doctor might have a lucky hunch, or he might prescribe something that inadvertently solved your root cause. But like, if you're looking to actually grade yourself on effective outcomes, your diagnosis is the most important thing. You know what I mean? And I think we're starting to look at politics like that. I mean, everybody knows that it operates on the friend-enemy distinction, and James Burnham wrote obviously a great book called The Machiavellians, where he kind of dissects the fact that so many people, they think about politics in this like mythological lens, and they have these priors that are based on nothing. Like, I think the example he uses is like, all men want to be free. It's like, well, the evidence says the opposite of that. So why are we sticking to this, like, it's almost a platitude, but whatever it is, like some grand statement about the nature of humanity. And if you think about it, like, the reason why we are seeing the failures that we are, it's because liberalism incorrectly diagnosed the nature of man. I mean, that is what is happening here. It's, you build a society that's founded on essentially the idea that we're all blank slates. When that is not the case, at some point your contradictions will break your foundation. And so many people are still trying to clamor to, like, again, the beautiful idea that we're all exactly the same on the inside. And we really are stepping out and saying, well, that's not true, and the poor outcomes prove that.
Yeah, I mean,
if nothing else, the poor outcomes prove it.
It's 100% right. Everything you just said is completely correct, and it kind of makes you think about, well, why are things this way? And I mean, honestly, I think you and I could agree to a certain extent. It's because it's engineered. Because when you have a majority of people thinking like this, nothing ever gets accomplished. It actually does kind of turn people into some type of slave. And obviously, like, not everybody's the same. Like, I've met people that have literally even told me before, they've said, yeah, I would be okay with a government that just completely ran everything and I had no rights. And like, I just don't want to think. Yeah. And they're serious. Yeah. And it's like, look, how can you have a society based on liberty and the freedom for all men if one man's freedom is he wants to be a slave?
Yeah.
It's like, dude, it doesn't fucking work. So you're 100% correct. And that's why that's why I like this movement so much, because the fact that we're even willing to talk about these things, it is heretical to this establishment. And for a lot of reasons, because one, it's engineered to be the way it is so people can't understand what's really going on. Because like you said, the diagnosis, if people can't diagnose what's really happening, they can't fix it more often than not. And so you have people in power, whether it's them boys, whether it's some group, whatever, they need people to not understand. And that's why politics, for the most part, is so complex and there's so many layers. And even every day, I'm sure there's stuff you and we see, and it's like, what the fuck? I didn't even hear about that. Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Something goes
Yeah.
like the BlackRock thing with just the other day.
Dude,
Bro,
the CIO.
I was like, all right, so that's the whole, but like, dude, yeah, every day there's something that nobody talks about that's like probably one of the most horrible things ever. And it's constantly like that every day, hundreds, if not thousands of things.
Yeah.
And it's like that on purpose. We're being socially engineered, or at
Yeah.
least we have been socially engineered to be this.
Well, you know, and I think what so effectively shuts down discourse is when your opposition to these things is viewed as immoral. And like that's kind of I really, the blank slate stuff I kind of view as the, if I could red pill everybody on one thing, it would be group differences.
Oh, yeah.
Because so many things flow from that. And if you improperly diagnose that, there is no way that your society can withstand it, because the distinctions and the disparity in outcomes becomes too much. And I don't know if you know who Dave Green is, but I'm a big fan of him, and his account is The Distributist. And he had an interview with Joel Berry on Benjamin Boyce's show.
Oh, man.
And he basically said, well, Barry said, we need to get rid of affirmative action. And once that happens, then it will be a complete meritocracy, and that the failures of, let's say like black people and outcomes, then they will be motivated because they won't be restrained or artificially boosted. And Dave, and I think I would have disagreed with this a few years ago, but he was like, so you're telling me that once we do that and the prisons fill even more up with black people and there's basically none of them in college, you're telling me that this whole subset of 13% of the population is going to nod and go, you know what? Fair enough. We're just not as smart. Like everybody else deserves it's like people don't operate that way. And to assume that like there'd be this like incredible amount of rationality from broad communities when the disparities in outcomes are that drastic, like, give me a break, man. I'm not saying that defends affirmative action, but what I'm saying is you really do have to manage expectations. And I'm starting to just think obviously I think this, and pretty much everybody on the dissident right, but like, I don't think multiculturalism can work at all. I think it's baked into the cake that it's over. If you start that, it probably looks like we're also dealing with a scale problem. And I just don't think that you can govern a society based on like individual liberties, which we don't even have, but like, let's say we did, with, 400 million people. I just don't think that's possible. I mean, I went to Croatia last summer.
Oh, wow.
And I think there's like 3 million people there. It's pretty much all white. And dude, it was significantly more like docile and it felt better than like American cities. And I'm not some like Europhile or anything like that, but you look at that and you're like, all right, well, it's probably because they have like 3 million people. And when you're dealing with a country that's 100 times that, if not more, and then you sprinkle in, group massive distinctions between groups and massive differentials in outcomes, it's like, I just think that fails, because you're not going to be able to convince people that, oh, sorry, you just have naturally lower intelligence, and we're all being rational and honest here. So if you want to work hard, but you're still going to be disadvantaged. And at the same time, it's like, oh yeah, and then these people at the very top, like, they're basically just destined for that. It just does. I don't think it works. Obviously, this is not like a hot take, but I don't think that it even in theory could be argued for at this point. And on top of that, going back to my original point, they tell you that this opinion is immoral. Like, you can't have that opinion because, like, fundamentally destroys this illusion, right? That like we're all the same and we're all equal in our talents and abilities.
It's the idea of the melting pot
Oh yeah.
philosophy that's been shoved down our throats, which, by the way, the only group of people that had to buy that were white people.
Yeah.
It was we're the ones that were sold it, but
Yeah.
it's
Really
like
just white women mostly.
yeah. I mean, the problem was the white man let it happen. That was the problem.
For sure.
And then the white, but once, but you have to also acknowledge, like, once the white women got the ability to not really need the white man, they just went off. Yeah. So both of them are at fault.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
And the multicultural thing, it's like, yeah, like, dude, it just, like, if we were talking perfect scenario, perfect utopia world that never has ever existed in human history, yes, it would be beautiful. Would that be awesome? Yes, but it just doesn't work. It's like there's so much evidence that it doesn't work. And it's especially, you see, you can look at Europe. You can look at a place like Poland, or like you said, Croatia, or like go look at Germany. Go look at all these other places. It's like it just doesn't work. It's not just a culture thing. There is differences in genetics. There are differences.
Yeah.
And that's part, like what you were saying earlier. We have to diagnose reality for what it really is. And if we don't do that, I'm sorry, what were you saying?
Oh, no, go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
No. But like what you were saying earlier, it's like, it's right. Like, we have to be honest about these things. And the longer we're not, the more we're just going to have a fucked up society, and it's just going to continuously get worse and more dangerous. Like, this isn't a safe place for you to have a family unless you're living in some rural, like, not to shit on rural towns. Everybody likes a rural town, like But if you're living in a major city, like, this is America, dude. Our cities
with costs, right? Yeah.
Our cities are supposed to be like great. Like, it's supposed to be something that inspires people. Yeah. Like, dude, we're supposed to be Rome. We're supposed to have fucking like we're supposed to be on a level nobody else could even comprehend. And you go to our cities and they smell like shit and they look like shit, and you don't have unity. So it's like, no, you do actually need not a majority multicultural society. You need just one kind of culture, one people, really.
Yeah, you have it's non-negotiable. I mean, you might be able to. There's a number out there that's probably like, you could have 90% same ethnicity.
Oh yeah, you could have like
80%.
You could have like visitors and stuff, but not.
But there obviously is a line at the point where it doesn't work. But going back to kind of the underlying logic of what I was saying before, with the fact that we are actually trying to prove ourselves wrong because we're trying to do political science on some level, and we're looking to disprove our hypothesis. We also are not utopian. And that is a big distinction, again, between whether we are a radicalized subset or not, because we all acknowledge that just adjusting the political knobs appropriately and in the best way for prosperity. And again, like, you got to remember, people's definition of prosperity is different now.
Oh, yeah.
When you say something like, for the greater good, or even to use the term good, you should not expect or rely on the fact that the people you're talking to and debating with have the same view of good as you. And this is what bothers me so much about many of the older generations, and particularly with like older men in like their 50s and 60s. They have this strange assumption that everybody deep down wants the same thing. And you see this with like out of guys like Rogan, where Rogan will go on this like attempt at unification of this 400 million person completely like incongruous society, and he just assumes that everyone's really just trying to do the same thing and they want the same. Like, that's not true. There is no evidence to suggest that people broadly have the same desires. And like, again, if you get that wrong, your prescription's going to be wrong, because if you have this this idea that like, well, if I could just sit down with everyone and talk to them, it's like, no, these differences in opinion are not, I mean, they are fundamental. And that's why everyone talks about like, I don't see this resolving besides one side taking power and imposing their will, or a literal violent conflict, because you don't reconcile things like that. And that's again sucks to come to that conclusion. But I would rather be honest about it than keep lying to ourselves and say, well, if we just put another Republican in office, then things will settle down and we'll get back to some false world. It's like, no, we have to cut the infection out in our understanding of things, because it's clearly incorrect. But
yeah,
again, like I really do think that's what gives me a lot of peace with my opinions. Is I've never had the intention to be like some debate bro. I mean, the more I've watched it, it's like really all just like a gimmick on some level. But even still, it's like, dude, if somebody out there on the different side of the political spectrum, whatever, is correct about something, like I actually want to know that so I can update my model. And Brett Weinstein makes this point, and he's pretty much the only guy that I've followed for years now that I've like been really happy to see his transformation. I don't know if you follow him, but like his whole understanding, he still is really enslaved to some liberal baseline presumptions.
Oh yeah, but he did the Carl Benjamin thing a while ago.
Yeah,
that's the last thing I saw from him. Yeah, but I like him. I like him.
Yeah, I do think he's an honest guy, but I think he gets uncomfortable with these realities of like, I think about the question of women, and I go over this in the book, where my proposition is not that I demand that women conform to some standard operating logic. My point is very simple. If we were to find out that this radical empowerment of women led to the end of civilization within a few generations, which is highly likely, if we knew that that was true, do we have the political will and honestly like the presence of mind and bravery to say, well, guess what? That's a non-starter then. It's like, I look at that and it's really strange to me. And I think this is a result of us growing up in such, like honestly, anarchy on some level, where we're like, well, if we knew that, giving women the right to vote somehow ended society, or birth control somehow ended society, like, don't we have an obligation to adjust our system to avoid that? Like I made that video, like we keep forgetting the entire point. And my whole point in that video is like, if we start doing something and we end up hollowing out the very reason we began in the first place, like what are we doing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you really have to stop and say, hey, I don't care how great it sounds that everybody has an equal democratic say independent of everything else. If that is proving itself to lead to destruction, like we have to change it. It's not an option.
Yeah, we literally don't have a choice. We either do it or we die. And by we dying, it's our history, our civilization, the future that you could have for your kids. So it's 100% true.
I mean, it could even end in literal nuclear wasteland. I don't. There has never been a more like accurate and poignant representation of the West and its absurdity than the Prime Minister of, I think, Finland. She was like that, like pretty hot chick. She was like in her late 30s when she was the prime minister. And, when the Ukraine and Russia stuff started going on, she was talking to the press and they go, what's the resolution here? And she goes, the resolution is Russia leaves Ukraine. And then she like walks away and giggles. It's like, you cannot argue for this world that ought to be. Like you have to address your genuine constraints in front of you. And I just found that so emblematic of the absurdity of like this feeling brave and defiant in the moment, which is just not brave and defiant, because guess what? They all get rounds of applause every
they
time they
all
say
think
stuff
the
like
same
that.
thing, you know?
But it's like that mindset would literally end in nuclear war. So it's not like, it's not that it's just distasteful to me, which it is, but that's not the point. The point is that this logic ends in disaster, and we have to intervene. We have to. It's again not an option if we want to survive. Some people don't want to survive. And I see that on the left too, where it's like, and this is why I think it's spiritual, and I think you've mimicked that same sentiment. It's like they want to preside over the destruction.
Yeah.
They want to watch it. It's like sadistic. They enjoy watching it. And
Have you
again,
ever?
going back to like, go ahead.
No. Keep going. Keep going. I'm sorry.
Okay, no worries. Like if you go back to what I was saying about like the older generations, it's like they can't even comprehend that. Wait, this could be like there could be people that are driven by like some like literal spirit of destruction, and that they don't all just like want to have a good job and have a family. Like their brains can't even comprehend it. It's so crazy, but it's obviously true.
It's it is crazy, and it's like it kind of reminds me of have you ever seen that show True Detective?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The first season with Matthew McConaughey.
Yep.
Remember that
Yep.
scene where he's talking to he's like freaking out his partner, and he's saying like, yeah, I don't think we as humans should survive. I think we should all just stop repopulating and walk into a annihilation together, holding hands or some shit. It's like
Totally.
yeah, it's like that's what it is. You have like different factions of people that think like that, and then you have, people that it is totally a spiritual thing. They're completely compelled by like just total just evil, sadistic darkness to fucking kill people. Like that's
Yeah.
what gets them up in the morning. And a lot of people don't think about that, but there are people who are like that, you know?
That's I think Nick makes a very the most relevant point with the Charlie Kirk thing. And I thought this from the start when you started hearing people like Dan Bilzerian, who I do respect, but coming out and he's just insistent, this is not left and right, this is them boys and everybody else. And it's like, even if that is entirely the case, and I am willing to grant that it is probably most of the case, but even if that is true, you still have people on the left that want conservatives and whatever the heck we are dead.
Yeah.
And like you cannot rationalize your way out of that problem. And like you talk to the older generations, many of them who they don't understand the depth of how much like vitriol is there. And I hate these people on some level. I do. Like I just do. And maybe that's not good, but like I'm sorry, I can't stand
like it's how
especially
can you
the hubris, right? Like but I mean, especially seeing the celebration of Charlie's death, but that woke me up to the fact that like there is no even possibility that we could just sit down and tell somebody like, well, if it's like if you actually treat people this way, then we get better outcomes. Like you already know that people they're not thinking about politics like that, because if they were, basically every leftist policy would have been dead hundreds of years ago, because it's like proven itself to not work. But the bloodlust is starting to startle me a little bit. Not like scare me in the sense of like, oh, I'm gonna get killed, obviously, but in the sense of like it's starting to feel Bolshevik, and that's how I felt in the BLM stuff. I'm actually from Seattle, and so
oh really? Dang.
I was living downtown Seattle, dude. So that where I practiced lacrosse in high school, that field was where the Chaz was.
Oh, where they did the garden?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And so I mean, that radicalized me like crazy. But I just like, I was a little bit startled at the zealotry during 2020 because I feel like that came out of nowhere. Like, you remember the cancel culture? I mean, I knew friends that were getting blasted on like Instagram for, something that they did. I was like, my God, I've never seen that behavior come out. Now, I had read the Gulag Archipelago, and I don't know if you've read it, but it thoroughly freaked me out reading about what had gone down in Russia. And I saw so many similarities in 2020, and I'm starting to see that again, where it's like that they're possessed. And I really do believe that's what's going on. I mean, these people they're captured by ideas. They're not just inspired communists that like read the manifesto in college. Like that's not what happened. Like, they are taken over by whatever this force is. And I actually think on some level we're a little bit disadvantaged because we don't have that ideological drive. And there is kind of that martyr like ideology of like, I'm going down with the ship no matter what. What do you think about that?
No, that's actually a pretty good idea, because we do have a lot of disadvantages there, because their whole thing is, and the disadvantage they have is as soon as one of them questions anything, they get eaten alive. But it doesn't happen enough to where it's going to like topple their entire movement. That's why it's still around. And then also they have a lot of advantages. They do have that questionable loyalty to whatever belief or idea they have. They do have that hive mind mentality, because it turns out, individualism doesn't really survive that long. The lone wolf dies. So when you're a part of the pack, when you're a part of that group, you just do more. They're way better at mobilizing.
Totally.
But also at the same time, after, January 6th, I think Owen Shroyer, he talked about this with Zeb Boykin on his, or Zeb Boykin, I said his name wrong. He talked about on his podcast like this week that after January 6th, basically any chance for the right to like kind of mobilize and have real movements, it basically got crushed, because January 6th was really used as a way to just kind of make people think that that's an evil thing if right people get together outside. And the left, they don't have that. They have a lot more advantages than we do.
Totally. I mean, they framed, this is what's bothered me so much about January 6th. It's like, they got the best possible propaganda out of it, and we didn't accomplish anything. And that's what bothers me so much about what I see on the right wing, is we somehow managed to lose twice. Like, we waste our political capital, and we don't get a good result, and we hand the left the perfect propaganda to frame us as the very thing that they've always said we were to like the NPCs. And it's so bothersome when you look at something like that, where everybody on the left thought that the right wing was full of like insurrectionist Nazis, basically. And, on some level, we start thinking like, I wish we were as based as they thought we were. Like, truly.
That's how we thought about Trump. It's like, I wish he was like that.
They like will compare him to some prominent men in the past, and everybody's
the painter.
Everybody's like, oh boy, like I would love for that to be true. And the left, like, they don't even understand what we're saying, but it really does. I mean, it really does bother me that nobody has the political will to go all the way. And Fuentes made a good point about this, where it's like performative cruelty. It seems to be, I saw this great tweet today that spoke about how the administration seems to be shifting the Overton window back intentionally, because what they're doing is so non-productive to their actual goals that you're like, well, they clearly don't care about this enough, because it starts becoming like the dog not barking. Like, well, if they really wanted to solve whatever problem, we already know the answers. So why aren't they at least trying to get those implemented? Why are they doing a half measure? And, this isn't my unique take, but like the old saying that's like grasping the nettle versus touching it. If you grasp this plant, it becomes soft, but you have to really manhandle it. And if you touch it, it stings you. And that's all that we do on the right wing, is we touch it and we don't grasp it. And the left is so much better at that. And there also, I think, is something dispositionally disadvantaging about people like us, because to your point, it's like we are fundamentally, we have the personality of like kind of the lone wolf thing, and we don't want to bow down to a collective ideology. But the left, they're happy to take marching orders. I mean, think about it like this. You have a lot of people on the dissident side that either weren't politically involved or didn't vote for Trump or whatever in 2016, voted for Trump in 2020, and then didn't vote for him in 2024, or maybe voted for him and they dislike him now. It's like, talk to any liberal, they've hated Trump for a decade.
Yeah.
And like we have actually often changed our minds on things. But they're happy to. I mean, the Biden thing was so absurd, how you have one day, literally one day, they say that these are cheap fakes. This is right-wing propagandists selectively editing videos. Then the debate happens. Jake Tapper accused Laura Trump of mocking the disabled when she said like, well, he's clearly like declining. He's over the average age of an American male's lifespan. Like, obviously he's going to be declining.
Yeah.
How is that even controversial? It's like, no, you're mocking the disabled. And then Jake Tapper comes out with a book that's like, whatever it's called, the cover up, and it's like every liberal that you would talk to was happy to switch their view on it as soon as the approved narrative came out. And it sounds so like, I think at least it kind of sounds like this know-it-all, above-it-all mindset of like, oh yeah, well, once they got their marching orders. But it really is true. Like, they actually have to look at that to see what's acceptable in their discourse, where we're not the same way. Ours is they're top down and we're like bottom up, right? Like, people start spouting ideas. Some people get sliced down and others are like, oh, this is the right take. And then people start coalescing kind of towards the truth. And I don't mean that the right wing is like maximally truth seeking. Certainly not like the standard conservative. The dissident side is much more truth seeking, but on some level it's like our inherent personalities disadvantage us.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you're talking about the normal conservatives, it's kind of like they have the same attitude towards things. Like they're diehard MAGA Trumpers, right? But it's like we don't have all the benefits that like the left have, with them being just like undyingly, just unapologetically worshiping whatever narrative they're a part of. And it really just kind of goes to show like the individualistic mentality. We're not even playing the same game. And we do have a problem where a lot of people on our side, even dissident right, they don't acknowledge that there are factions. They kind of think it is like you mentioned earlier, it all comes from them boys, and that's if we got rid of that problem, then everything else would go away. And it's like, well, no. And I even talked about this in my last video. It's like, look, you think if them boys weren't around, that woman in Minnesota or Minneapolis or whatever, you think she wouldn't have been there? She would have been there. It's like they're still kind of subscribed to this mindset. And the hive mind, it is powerful. It is strong. You don't have people questioning things. There was a study that came out last year, and I didn't read the study. I just saw like the basic graph, but it had like a graph of conservative thinking and then liberal thinking, and it proved that liberals tend to be less diverse in thought than conservatives.
I saw that as well. Yeah.
And it's like, well, they say they're diverse, but they're not. We know that, but now there's actual evidence to prove that. And it's like, well, it does have benefits. And the benefits are kind of kicking our ass, you know? It's like, well, fuck, maybe the whole idea of everybody just having liberty and, you know, being their own person. And I'm not here to say that we should have like a dictatorship or whatever. I know there's going to be a bunch of people in my comments that are going to be like, no, that's the answer. But it's like, maybe there is an advantage to having people that don't think for themselves as much, because some people just can't do that. They don't make the right choices.
100%. And that is, you know, I was very liberty minded guy. In fact, when like the BLM stuff happened in 2020, I would say I wouldn't have classified myself as an actual libertarian, but I was very much libertarian minded in the sense that, like, if you let 130 IQ white guys basically govern themselves, like, you're going to get the next Rome. But what I've come to notice, and this stems, I think, again, from the inherent presumptions of liberalism, like this universal man concept and this blank slate, we are looking for a universal answer, and we're looking for a system that is self-correcting and self-governing. And the right is saying, you know, like, okay, for example, the classical liberal would shoot down the idea of like a king or any type of monarch, in the sense that, like, a dictator, and I'm using that like synonymously, they would shoot that down because they'd say, well, what, you don't know if the king is gonna, you know, be mentally ill or whatever it is, right? And it's like, yeah, but that doesn't then imply that a system that removes executive authority doesn't have the capacity to degrade itself either. And this like lust for, you know, if we just set it up like this and then we open the floodgates, it's all going to work perfectly. And I'm very much of the mind now where I think that we don't have to be seeking this all-encompassing answer to our politics. It very may be likely that, like, for 10 years, we do need a dictator. And again, that does not mean that you're of course going to have a transfer of power back to democracy or whatever. And I'm not saying I even support democracy, but my point being is, like, I'm not hypothesizing that doesn't have problems, but I think we have to start looking at this idea of, like, abandon the universalism in politics. And I'm not saying the ends justify the means, and I'm not saying that there aren't universal moral principles, but I am saying that, like, a very powerful executive branch or something like that maybe mimics a dictator, like, we can't just scratch it off the table because we've been propagandized against it. Like, it very may well be actually necessary that we have to implement a different government for this 10-year period, and then a different one for the next 20 years, and then a different one for the next 10 years after that, adjusting to your real-time conditions. And I think so many people are uncomfortable with that idea of, like, well, are you saying that your proposed prescription isn't the perfect answer to governing mankind, which has probably been the most substantial question for the last 6,000 years? It's like, obviously, and you see that real deification of the American founding documents. And even now, I mean, you've made a video on the Constitution, dude. That knee-jerk response from so many conservatives when you even bring up the fact that it might be flawed in some way. I don't know if these people have read the Constitution, but most of it is completely banal. Most of it is like, this state gets 3 delegates. Like, it's not this.
They haven't even read it.
Yeah, it's not this, like, grand declaration of, like, and then mankind will, you know, as both the marble and the sculptor will, like, you know, turn itself into whatever. It's like, it's not like that. We can obviously assess it and say, hey, this thing that was, you know, devised before the Industrial Revolution might have some inherent flaws given what society has come to today. How is that even a controversial statement? It's honestly wild to me that even there are people on the right wing that still cannot see past that. I mean, and I'll let you talk in a second, of course, but
you're spitting facts.
Something that really bothers me about the whole thing is like just the idea that it's like out of the question. Like to even bring that up discounts your opinion. And it's like, hey, I thought we were somewhat of a free marketplace of ideas. I mean, I know we're obviously not, but you would think that people on the right would be better suited for that. You know, I talk to some people and I hear their take and I'm like, okay, come back to me in 3 years. Like it's going to take you 3 years to get red pilled to the point that you need to be to even have a productive conversation. Like I see that all the time. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's the thing where Nick, he keeps talking. He's like, you just got red pilled last week.
Yeah.
And you saw one TikTok video and now you watched a fucking YouTube documentary by some dude who's never been banned off anything. And now you think you know all the shit that's going on. And it really is like, look, yeah, it's because the concept of, hey, the Constitution might be wrong. And also, like, think about, like, the version of the Constitution we have today. It's not even the same one.
Yeah.
Like, it's been changed and, like, essentially the Founding Fathers would probably say it's bastardized now. Like,
absolutely.
So it's like, dude, the idea that it's like, you can't touch it, but we touch it all the time. What the fuck are you even talking about? And that's why it's like, I know you haven't read these things because they'll tell you to go out and read Common Sense and all those, you know, the papers or whatever. They'll tell you to do it. It's
Federalist
like,
papers.
Yeah, the Federalist papers. Like, they'll tell you to do it. And it's like, you haven't even read those. You obviously don't.
You know, I 100%. And Michael Malice made a great point that kind of opened my eyes to things way back in the day, where he was like, every single gun law is a direct violation of the Constitution.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, okay, so if that is the case, then what is your argument for its utility? And James Lindsay, who is just like, I've never seen somebody discredit himself more in such a short period of time. But like he was like, you know, the woke right, they try and say that the Constitution either facilitated this or was too weak to stop it. And it's like, yeah, that's true. Like, what is your counter argument if it's not strong enough? And I'm not saying that a adjusted Constitution would have the inherent power to stop it. But what I am saying is and I'm saying you as like the people that defend it without any clarification, they are making the argument that it should be powerful enough. And it's like, we're actually taking the pragmatic perspective and saying, why are we pretending that this like doctrine of statements has this magical power to enforce society? Carl Schmitt talks about this, where he says that sovereignty is, I can't remember the exact phrasing, but it's like he who decides what to do during the exception. And his point is like, if your norms are always followed, you don't need anybody to make a consequential decision because it's already in that decision chart, right? Like, if yes, then this, if no, then this. But the people who really have power, and this is what Soros obviously figured out, is like, I don't actually need to change the laws. I need to buy off the person enforcing them, because it comes down to like a judge who really is deciding, like, are we prosecuting? Are we, whatever. And so few people understand that. And there's that deference to the system. Everybody loves to just be like, well, the system is that way. The system says this, so so we can't. It's like, you're a human, I'm a human. All this stuff is serving humans. We don't serve the system. And it's like, I just truly don't understand how that is misunderstood so deeply.
No, I mean,
Yeah, it really is crazy.
you're complete, like, yeah, like, dude, that's because it's the Constitution. It's not some, like you said, it's not some magical book. It's not some magical paper. It's not some tome that's floating above Washington. And it's something that was made by people, and it's
Yep.
enforced by people. Like, we have an enforcement arm. If every man woke up tomorrow and decided, you know what, the 19th Amendment is bullshit, guess what? The 19th Amendment would be bullshit. It would not be enforced
Yep.
anymore. It's like,
Exactly.
it's the same thing with
Exactly.
everything. Like, you talk about the judge. How many times do we see conservatives talk about how this judge didn't prosecute this guy, therefore this guy went out, stabbed a white girl? It's like, you already understand on some level that the system isn't being, enforced the way it's supposed to, because it's people. And you
Exactly.
have
Yeah.
people who have more resources or influence or power that are able to manipulate that, and then you have others that are really just good at talking, and they're able to influence it by just kind of convincing people of ideas. It doesn't make, it's not that radical to think, well, maybe since the Constitution has been changed so many times, what if we did change it one more time? It's going to get changed again
Right.
eventually. It's either going to be
Right.
us, or it's going to be somebody who wants you to die at this point.
Well, I mean, how many times have you heard a conservative say something like, "Well, he needs his day in court," or "We'll see what comes out in the trial." And it's like, look, I'm not saying that our system doesn't have the capacity to result in justice, but like, by that logic, Derek Chauvin deserves to be in prison. And it's like, we cannot keep this deference when we know that the outcome is incorrect. And like, that's not the argument for that means get rid of every law, but what it is saying is, like, we still have to take note that somebody has to have this sovereignty that says, yeah, I know our system tries pretty hard, which I don't think it does, but our system tries pretty hard to produce justice. But in this case, clearly something went wrong, and we have to make a modification in order to rectify it. That seems so inherently obvious to me. I've been thinking a lot over the years about how you enforce like language laws, like, yeah, in regarding speech. And an example of the complexity of something like that, and this also explains the need for like a sovereign entity to be able to analyze this, is Count Dankula?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, so he I think he's Scottish, and he tweeted about some dude. I literally didn't know the backstory, but he's like, just a reminder that it's illegal to post this guy's photo or whatever unless you're American. And then he commented like, please, Americans, don't do this. Obviously implying that like you should do it. But if you were looking at a mechanical legal definition, like, that actually wouldn't violate anything, but everybody knows what it's getting at. And but if you didn't cede anything to like a sovereign entity like a judge, no system would be able to determine the human element of that says, well, this is obviously maybe operating along mechanical lines that don't violate anything, but it clearly does. And we this liberal mindset divorces so much of like the human element of life from this mechanical review of how things operate, like, without any nuance of, wait, isn't the whole point that like we're humans here, and we have like the objective is to do a lot more than make money and live in a studio apartment above a smoke shop.
Mm.
It's like we can't even comprehend the fact that like, hey, maybe we're actually infringing on what it means to be human by looking at everything so mechanically.
Damn.
Maybe that didn't tie together
No,
very well, but
I'm following. It's
okay.
maybe, you know, we are supposed to be building cathedrals and amazing things. Maybe
Yeah.
we're supposed to be striving for something more than just, you know, having a dog and just fucking, you know, getting lattes on Sundays and doing yoga and all that bullshit. Maybe we should be doing more with our society if we're so great. And there definitely a big problem with it is that old guard. You know, it's like
Yeah.
they are kind of, because it is all a form of tribalism, even if it's a
Yeah.
tribalism of just ideas. And they're subscribed to that where it's like, oh, well, you can't change this, you can't do this, you can't even talk about it. And it's like, well, people do it all the time. You just don't pay attention. You know?
Yeah.
It's like maybe that is what is required, especially with how things are, you know, now with how dire they are. Maybe we do need to make one more change. Maybe it is just for a decade. And if it doesn't stop there and it goes on forever, if it works, if it makes your society better, if it gives your kids a future again, if it gives you a pride in where you live, and I don't know, makes life worth living. Because everybody, dude, you talk to all these people, half of the people who live here in the West in general, they want to fucking kill themselves 90% of the time because they're so bored and there's no meaning.
Well, and they, again, like, nobody seems to be able to take a step back and say, like, maybe we hollowed out the entire purpose of this to begin with. And I don't know about you, but when I was younger, I was very driven toward money in the sense, but not like in a materialistic sense, but more as like a scoreboard, right? Of like, well, if I can make this much money or whatever, then that will define my success. And I don't know about you, man, but like and I was gonna try and make a video on this, but if you tear down the inherent justice of your hierarchy, it doesn't matter that, you know, every homeless person has an iPhone in America. That doesn't matter. It's all about relative comparison. And like, I hate when right wingers, like, I feel like Chris Rufo is the type that would say something like, well, you have better dental care than John Rockefeller. It's like, yeah, nobody cares about that, man. Like, that's not an argument. And it goes back to that like crazy idea that, well, if we get rid of affirmative action, everyone's just going to be happy because they know that they have the autonomy to try really hard. And I got so disillusioned with work and money because I'm like, hey, and obviously this happened later, but it's like, if I told my friend, I was like, you know what we should have done when we graduated college is started an NGO and sent the government invoices. That's all we should have done. And it's like, when that happens and you start degrading like I said, the justice of it, it is so disenfranchising. And we're really seeing that now where it's like, wait, so you're telling me, I saw this tweet that talked about this, like, you're telling me that the money that my parents spent 40 years trying to accumulate was able to be scammed by like 65 IQ Somalians in like a matter of a year? Like, you cannot sustain a system like that, because why on earth would you be motivated to try? Like, there has to be that justice. And you know, like, I remember this happened at my company where somebody's income got leaked, and it everybody was making like a decent amount of money, but it was the fact that this guy did not even close to deserve what he was being paid. And everybody started going and asking for raises because they're like, look, if you're willing to pay him that, then surely I'm worth however much more than that. And I watched as it really tore down the ability for everybody to be content with where they were at, even though a day before that everybody was fine with it. It's the fact that they understood, that it had essentially turned into like the looting phase. Like, well, if he can manage to pull that out of it, then I want to get in on that, because I don't want to let that, be taken advantage of by someone, especially who doesn't deserve it, right? And like there is that element that you do need a meritocracy, in the sense that your truly talented people need to be able to break through and become your most useful people, and we are not there. You know what I mean? Like and maybe some people, they're like the legacy elites that went to Princeton and Yale or whatever, that are like white guys, might still be able to fund. But again, they go and work on like Wall Street, and they just basically do a job for them boys making money out of money. And it's like, that's not anything substantive either. And that I don't know how we get back to that, but it's absolutely true. Like you were saying, like building a cathedral, something like that. Like it has to supersede this, just again, maximize whatever the spreadsheet says. Well, if we're developing these condos and we decrease the square footage of each one by 8 feet and lower the ceiling by a foot, then we can save, $13 a square foot, and thus get $80 more per rent per unit. And it's like, yeah, but that's just a mechanical review. And like, where is your heart, and where's your soul, and where's your purpose? And the money stuff, it's again, it's degrading everything. It's greed, and everybody's greedy. I'm not saying that's like an indictment, but that's clearly an improper foundation for society. We're seeing it dissolve right now. Yeah. I don't know if you've thought that too, but like I'm so disenfranchised with it.
No, but I mean, the example you gave with like the work thing, that's actually happened to me at a few of my jobs. That actually happened not that long ago where I'm at. And it was pretty like weird, because the guy who literally makes more than everybody, and he gets paid a lot. In fact, he just went on like a 4-month, essentially all paid vacation, because he said he had mental health problems because he was working too hard, and he fucking didn't do shit, and he got approved for it. But I digress. It's like, you can't have a system that operates this way when there are obviously people that are just taking advantage of it. And this, like, a lot of people would say, you're going to have like some socialist watching this, and they're going to be like, oh, well, it's just because of capitalism, and that's why. Right. And it's like, well, yeah, like there are a lot of problems with capitalism and with the way we have things now, but there is more to it than just that. But to talk about the money problem, it's like, dude, money, our version of money is essentially useless. It's a number on a computer. There's nothing backing it. And you see all these things popping up every day. I follow like all these accounts on X, and every day almost. And they're not even supposed to be tweeting about this shit, but every day they are. They talk about Gen Z and how Gen Z doesn't want to work hard enough. They don't really care about working anymore. And it's like, well, yeah, because, dude, money is worthless. Yep. There's no future. It's like Somalis are taking half of the shit, bro. And not even just that. You got Indians infesting everywhere, including Texas, because of H-1Bs. And dude, Texas GOP just put out a video the other day, and it was this Indian dude, and he could barely speak. I was what? Dude, I was like, I low-key, I was kind of thinking about making a video on it, and I made a thumbnail, and the thumbnail I definitely could not use on YouTube. But this was like, what the fuck is going on in Texas? Like, what's going on in America? Like, this system does not work. And the problem is, and I had a conversation with the guys over at Nav about this the other day on the channel. And it's like the people who have the keys to power, the ones that are supposed to be representing you and I, the ones that are supposed to be fighting for us, that are supposed to be on our side, they're not doing anything. It's almost as if they're completely just letting this country just get raped in
Yeah.
front of everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's also at a point now to where, all right, maybe 15 years ago, I could give you the benefit of the doubt of not noticing. But at this point in time, you're just either a fucking idiot or you're willingly turning a blind eye.
Well, it does seem to be truly in that looting phase of it's broken down. The inherent order of it and logic has broken down, and everyone's like, well, if I'm gonna watch as people are extracting the maximum amount of resources that they can, like, why would I not join in on that? And on some level, like, I mean, for example, we think about taxes and stuff. Like, there is no moral obligation to pay taxes if your government is not serving you. And that is also the older generations are just allergic to that thought. But I could give a shit. Arrest me. I don't care. Like, on the sense that obviously I care. Like, I don't want that to happen, but I will not just say, well, that's, you live in a system that says you got to pay taxes and that's what's got to happen. It's like, no, we have agency. We're not slaves. We don't have to go along with things when they're objectively, it's not even like they're not serving us. They are sabotaging us.
Yeah.
And that's the real kicker of it. When you realize it's like, the apathy would be great. And that's what I think about with the Dem Boys question too, where it's like, dude, if there wasn't malice in what was being done, you could probably look past a lot of it. And I'm not saying a lot of it, like, there's a lot that is terrible, but the point is, like, there are some things where you're like, okay, well, if this was being done purely out of profit drive, right? Like, they wanted to push like pornography or the online gambling thing is really bothers me.
Yeah,
I saw so many guys in college just get absolutely ruined by it. And like, you could look at that and you'd say, well, if that's just driven by a profit motive, okay, it's immoral, but fine. But it's like, there is a desire to ruin people's lives through things like that. And it's stated. That's not me concluding that independently. Like, they're pretty explicit with it. And that's what bothers me so much about the government too is, like, it's not that they just don't care about you. Like, that would be great. That really would be great if they just didn't care about us, but they want to watch us suffer, and then they mock us with it too. People didn't like my Maduro video very much, and I don't see how people took issue with the fact where it's like, so he can kidnap a dictator, but Tim Walz can say that he's at war with the federal government and nothing happens.
Yeah, it's like, you're going to ban Snap. It's like, congratulations, great. It's like they're raping Minnesota right now. It's like, it's crazy.
It's just that competency disparity. And I get it. Like, I understand that there's limitations, but the point that I think needs to be understood more is, like, but you can't just excuse it as, well, that's going to have liberal blowback and maybe it's technically unconstitutional. I go back to what Michael Mouse said. It's like, well, every single gun law is unconstitutional. So why is that okay? But some other action that's unconstitutional isn't okay. You know what I mean? Like, let's get some operative consistency. I don't even care that much about ideological consistency. But like I said in the video, I'm not going to accept when a bodybuilder benches 500 pounds and then he's like, well, I can't curl this 20-pound dumbbell because my bicep is sore. It's like, I don't care. I just watched you do something a million times harder. And you're saying that, like, some ancillary thing is just out of the question. It's insulting. Like, it really is.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm sure, because anytime you talk about stuff like that, because you're 100% correct, you're going to have people saying, well, it's because that's the whole plan. That's the whole goal. And I mean, to their credit, it's like, yeah, there is a plan to just completely destroy us. It's just to what
Yeah.
extent does that look like? I mean, obviously, completely getting rid of white Americans, that's definitely something that's happening. But everything else that's been going on, it is insulting to the sense it's like, bro, we just get nothing. You know, it's just a full on downward spiral, and all of our leaders are abandoning us. And it really is kind of like you're saying, it's the looting phase. You know, why wouldn't you join in? You know, if you're a girl, and I shouldn't say this, but I mean, to be honest, if you're a girl and if you're hot and if you turn 18 or 21 or whatever, why shouldn't you make an OnlyFans? Why
Yeah.
shouldn't you
Yeah.
participate in the degeneracy? I even used to think this when I was younger, I went through a phase with crypto, and for a while, that was like my job. I made pretty decent money through crypto, and I had some opportunities where I could have made more if I was getting into just fucking people over, and I didn't want to
Yeah.
do that, and I missed out on a lot of money. And I could have very easily fucked people over, and I could have been, I wouldn't even be here. I'd be somewhere else on a beach, maybe, fucking doing whatever I wanted to do. But it's like, because I had some type of moral that said, you know, I shouldn't fuck people over. I should actually be as honest as I can be. I'm not going to make as much money. And then you have people that just like, well, why should they think that? You know, why shouldn't I just scam people?
Right.
Why shouldn't I make a daycare? You know, why shouldn't I
Well,
be a
that's
H1B?
why the truly, like, the faith in God and those transcendent moral doctrines, like, they really are the only thing that's governing you at this point, because and that's why you hear, again, I don't have the like direct quote, but essentially, like, evil prospers in this world. And I mean, anybody that tells you that it's not like appealing to do what you're talking about, like, well, yeah, if I just did this, I could maximize, I could make a bunch of money, and it would be at the expense of other people's well-being, but then I'd be taken care of. And we're seeing what happens when people don't believe that, and then there's a system that doesn't prevent it to begin with. And if there's anything that I've realized from the political shift, is like, I understand the impulse for just like, give me a strong man. Like, I don't care. Give me a right-wing dictator and let him unleash the wrath. And I understand the logical problem of, well, what if, the gun gets turned on you? But it's like, at some level, you're like, well, I will take that risk, because the disorder and the injustice is so great that it, like, it does break you. It breaks you at some point. So I get it. I do get that.
I mean, and in a way, like, the gun's already pointed at us. It's already
For sure.
it's already
For sure.
in our face. Like, right now, where things are standing, we don't have a future. We don't have a country. It's been stolen already,
Exactly. And that's what makes Gen Z men so dangerous, in that we don't have really anything to lose like the other generations had before, where, at least their system functions somewhat well. And you can kind of look past the lies when you're still able to, make a decent living, own a home, have a family. It's like, if you take that away from people, then, and it doesn't just end there, but if you take away all those things that, like we were saying before, actually make life worth living, it makes the struggle meaningful, then you get people. I mean, if you don't have anything to lose, like, you're immediately dangerous. And we are at that point, and nobody will acknowledge it, really.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, I think it really kind of rests with Gen Z and especially with Gen Alpha. Gen Alpha, I'm a little afraid of because they're going to be, I mean, they're going to be a little bit more, like way more extreme. They're going to be the ones with all the OnlyFans moms and
yeah, I'm a little, go ahead. Sorry.
no, it's kind of in a, and I've talked about this before, but with the fact that we don't have anything and, you know, we have nothing to lose, it is kind of like at this point a 50-50 chance. Like because of that, there's really not much more they can threaten us with or take away from us. But also because of that, we could destroy ourselves because there's so much anger.
I agree with you, and I've contemplated making a video sort of about this because I'm starting to think that the men that will be able, first of all, the reason why we are unpersuadable by this liberal order is because we remember what the world was like before this all started, even if it was brief. Like me and you're the same age, and I remember a world before the internet, and it was very. I mean, obviously we had computers, but it wasn't like it was nothing like it became. I remember when the iPhone came out. I remember when everybody had flip phones.
Yeah,
like, I do remember that world. I remember when like mostly white, like especially where I grew up. And so the fact that we remember that, we don't accept the excuse that like, well, this is just the way it's always been. It's the way it always will be. But I've been thinking about whether the consequential men of our generation, you know, maybe, I don't know the extent of what goes on behind the scenes. I'm a little bit concerned. I'm actually kind of excited to see, you know, when I go public, like what kind of calls am I going to get? What is going to happen? Is my bank account going to get shut down? But you know, like we may need men that manufacture a life for themselves that isn't reliant on like, I've got kids and a wife. I mean, I said in my Dan Bongino video, which I think I've been vindicated on, it's like, I really don't care what is at risk for him. He got involved in this and he should have known the risks. He's like in his 50s and he's been working in government for, you know, his whole life. It's like, I don't excuse that. I would excuse it for like a random person, but if you know what's at stake and then you go, well, you know, the risk was too great. It's like, well, then you shouldn't have been siphoning off all this money and fame, to present yourself as something that you're not. Like you're supposed to be our one of our fighters, right? Like that's what you portrayed yourself as, but you're not. So you want to take all the reward and wager none of the responsibility. But like at the same time, I don't know how you feel about this, but it may be a good idea that we don't, some of us, I don't say this broadly, some of us don't have kids. I don't think it's a good idea that Nick Fuentes has a family, like for right now.
No, 100.
You don't want that.
Yeah.
You don't want that leverage. But at the same time, and this goes back to what I was saying about the benefit that the left has with how devoted they are to their ideology, it's like that also is a massive, massive motivator. Like now I got to make a world better for my kid. But then it's like, okay, or you have the freedom to not have to have something that you value as more valuable than your own life at stake. And James O'Keefe made a great point when he's like, if you're going to do this, your price has to be your life, because that's the only thing that you can like safeguard against the materialistic bribes and whatever that they can offer you hedonically. What do you think about that? I'm mixed on it still, but I'm kind of starting to think that.
I think it's required. I don't know if a majority of people need to do that, but definitely some leaders have to.
The leaders, absolutely.
There's gonna,
not everybody, yeah.
Because it's like there are gonna have to be people that are gonna sacrifice, even if they don't pay necessarily with their lives from a bloodshed point of view. They do sacrifice their life, and that their entire life becomes this. they sacrifice their life for a future in a world that they will not see. And we need we need to have and that's the idea we have, like the mindset we have to have going forward is like, look, you and I, we can fight every day and we can do the best that we can possibly do. There's a good chance all the things we want from life, or all the things we would want life to be, we won't ever experience that. And there is, I think, not for some people, not having kids, not having a family, that might have to be the sacrifice they make, part of it.
Yeah. I have this strange, like, indifference to, I'm obviously very angry about what has happened to our culture, to our society, to our well-beings. And this is probably a result of how denigrated white men were growing up. And that is true. And I don't care if people want to give that BS, like, oh, you shouldn't have a victim complex. It's like, we don't. But you also can acknowledge that we've been completely and systematically disadvantaged from basically birth. But there is a level of resistance that I certainly have cultivated over the years of like, well, yeah, of course I'm not going to be at the front of the line. Of course I'm not going to get because it's like, it's been so consistent throughout our lives that I never really expected any of it anyway. And so when I look at the fact that it's being taken from us, it's almost like I've made peace with it, and not in the sense that that means it's going to demobilize me, but they can keep throwing whatever they want at me, and there is going to be a level of like stoicism that I'm able, and I don't think this is unique to me, but like this level of stoicism that we can maintain, because a lot of us have made peace with it. Like, we're not going to get that in our lives. Like, it's already gone, but guess what? We believe in the continuation of humanity. We believe in inherent justice. We believe that we have a right to a country, to a people, to a culture. And even if we don't get to experience that, a lot of us have the fighting will to still go after it in just as tenacious of a manner as if we were fighting for it for ourselves. And this is like very ancient wisdom. It's like the planting trees of which you'll never feel the shade of. It's like, that's where we're at. And I'm okay with it, strangely. Have you kind of made peace with it?
I've thought about this, not like to the extent you've just kind of described it, but I have thought about this a lot. And it is, we're living in the hard times. And we have to, but the only way we move past that is we have to become the strong men, and we have to be the ones that, go through this. This, like I've said this several times on my channel, this is the rest of our lives to a certain degree. Yeah. It's not going to be fixed in 4 years. The reason why we're even here in the first place is because the people who are our enemies, they've been playing this game for over 100 years. Like, this has been going on for a long time. And so it's going to take a long time to correct it. And this idea some people have where, well, we can just use accelerationism and we can accelerate our way into that lifestyle. It's like, no, even with that, you're not going to get what you want.
Yeah.
Go
ahead.
I'm sorry. It's just,
no.
There's still going to be problems. You're still going to have to work like twice as hard. You're going to have to give up the comforts that you have. There's a lot of sacrifice that is going to be required of us. And if we're not the ones that do it, it's going to be the next generation. So the responsibility is on us, whether we do it or not. I guess we'll find out. But I think God put us in this place and time, and I think he's calling us to do these things. I think we have to.
I so agree with that.
I think if I was to, and I'll get like a little open about some things. It's like, I don't do drugs anymore. I used to do drugs. I used to be a pretty big stoner and all these things. Like I would participate in a lot of stuff I should not have
Yeah, dude,
been
I was
doing.
absolutely degenerate in
Yeah,
college.
it
My
like
God.
dude, bro, yeah, like yeah, and I had a phase where I was kind of numb, and every day I would get home from work and I would just smoke weed or do whatever, and I would just fuck random girls, and I was just completely detached from everything, and I just thought, well, this can be my life. It's fine. I can numb
Yeah.
myself. But after paying attention and seeing the way things are going, seeing where this is all kind of led to, God has placed us in these positions and he's called us to be strong men, to be warriors. If I were to die and if I was to go before him and if he was to ask me, hey, why did you just smoke weed all day and be a
Yeah.
loser? Why didn't you actually fucking, grow some balls like I wanted you to, like you were supposed to? Why did you let
Yeah.
things get worse? It's,
Yeah.
I think our soul and the salvation of our souls depend on us kind of taking the responsibility. It's like, yeah, are we responsible for why things are the way they are? No, but we are responsible for changing it. And that is going to require a lot of sacrifice, and that's going to require a lot of guys, unfortunately, for not having a family.
Yeah.
I
You
honestly,
know,
I'm not going to say I probably won't ever find a wife or kid or have kids. I would love to, but I've thought about it and it's like if it doesn't happen, if that's what God wants, if I need to do something else, that's my purpose.
yeah. Like I would say that I really was pretty apathetic to it, having a family. My brother had a son, like, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago, and that
Mm.
really did trigger I really understood the biological impulse of like, this is your family. Like, I felt that immediately, and I was actually really surprised to the degree that I felt it.
Mm.
But at the same time, I I acknowledge first and foremost that like it actually would concern me to, and I think this is such a cop out in general of like, how could you like bring a child into this world? But with what I am doing, and especially the fact that I'm going to go public with it, like it is, and Fuentes talked about that too. It's like it is kind of irresponsible to willingly involve other people in that choice. I mean, I feel bad for my family that they're just going to have to deal with this stuff as a result. Um, but going back to what you were saying, like I was an atheist. I didn't
Mm.
believe in God at all. I was honestly like I didn't do very well in college, in undergrad at all, and I didn't care. I was like in a frat. I went to play college sports for like a second, and then I quit and then transferred. But I'd lost so much motivation. I lost so much drive, and but there was a time when I was probably like 21. I'm curious if you've had a similar uh, kind of awakening where I didn't think there was anything wrong with what I was doing, how I was living. And I didn't even feel shame about it at all for like years. I probably started drinking when I was like 13. And
Mm.
I, there was no shame about any of my behaviors. And then um, slowly I started feeling true like guilt for how I was living. And I didn't understand why, because I didn't have the moralistic framework to say that what I was doing was wrong. And it wasn't even like a health thing, but I just could feel like, hey, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. And I kind of decided this has probably been rehashed by many people over the years, but like I came to the conclusion that whether you're a good person or not is not dependent on necessarily always doing the right thing. It's whether you recognize when you're doing the right and wrong thing. I think
Mm.
that is a far better barometer for somebody's like moral integrity, because I've known plenty of people that and I'm not saying they're like psychopaths, but that truly did not even recognize that whatever they were doing was bad and immoral. And I don't lie to myself when I am doing something that isn't, in line with my moral code. And I never even try and rationalize it anymore and say like, well, it's okay just this time because of whatever. I'm very honest with myself. And like, yeah, you are not living up to the standard that you should. And that really kind of brought me back into like this understanding of a transcendental, greater world that operates on a higher order, than the materialistic one. But did you have any type of like slow progression out of that kind of degenerate phase like that?
Yeah, it was slow. It's kind of funny that you would say you were an atheist because I went through like the same thing. I was raised a Judeo-Christian, and then I became an atheist when I was like 14, 15. And then when I was around like 2021, I was like an agnostic. And I mean, I was just doing, I'm not going to incriminate myself, but I was doing a lot of fucked up shit. And I hurt a lot of people. I hurt a lot of, like I just wasn't a good person.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny because I did start noticing that. My answer to it was, well, maybe I should just do more drugs. And that's that's the path I feel like a lot of people end up taking is because it is easier, but you have to numb yourself more and more. And then honestly, I didn't really start cleaning up my shit until I was like closer to 25. I'm 27 now. Yeah. So I that's when I came around and kind of gave my life to Christ again and realized what I was doing was just not leading anywhere good. And I'm not like a perfect person, but I think exactly what you said is like recognizing when you're doing something wrong, when you're doing something right. That's kind of the way you should think about it. And I'm not here to, judge other people unless, I do judge other people. I'm not going to say I don't, but it's like, I get it. Like we all go through these phases, especially when we live in this type of society that encourages it.
One thing that I think is really like an incorrect approach that a lot of people make is I think that most people have a similar like draw to like the strength of the draw to of whatever their vices are. I just think it's distributed differently. This is obviously a generalization, but in the sense that like there might be somebody who really loves cocaine and there might be somebody that's really, really greedy. And so because he's really, really greedy, he works hard and he's financially successful, whereas the other guy's a cokehead. And I think that we oftentimes, because some vices end up being beneficial in the material world, like something like that, like greed, we write it off as like not impactful. And kind of just drawing this to what you're saying about like judging people is that gave me a lot of insight as to like, this doesn't excuse bad behavior. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is like, I have more sympathy when I see people that happen to be kind of afflicted with a vice that is life ruining versus like somebody that, like is obsessive about working out. Because like that is a vice. Like that, even though it doesn't seem like it, that type of mentality of like, I have to eat 2,300 calories a day and I can't have more than, 50 grams of carbs and I have to, do these exercises, whatever. It's like, that's the same obsessive compulsion as whatever somebody that's like drinking or whatever. And obviously it's not one-to-one, but what I'm saying. And that gave me at least a little bit better perspective, but like you, when I started to kind of feel that shame, it was gradual, but I did have that recognition of like, wait, I'm not really like that great of a person. Can we all kind of have that that inherent conclusion often that like we are, even though our behaviors don't have to reflect it. And I just kind of realized like it's not okay to just like brush it off and go, yeah, I do good enough sometimes. And I think that goes to like the broad spiritual awakening that you're seeing in Gen Z men, where it's like is going home for Thanksgiving and the 24-year-old is like saying we need to pray before this meal and like have some gratitude. And I think that the Gen X specifically, they're so like they have this false idea that they're above ideology. And I remember like with my Peterson video, so many comments are, well, your problem was that you put your faith in a man and not Jesus Christ. And it's like, okay, yeah, all right. Fundamentally, you may be correct, but humans don't raise themselves. Like we have fathers, we have mentors, we have idols on some level, and you're not going to engineer that, and you're not above it. And like that hubris to say, like, I'm so self-sustaining that I don't need any advice. I don't need any external input. I can sculpt myself at the same time as I'm, manifesting into something new. It's like, have some humility actually, that you can't just do this all on your own, and you do need guidance spiritually and like from other people.
Yeah, no.
And it goes back to how resistant, liberals are to the idea of like a king. I'm not supporting it necessarily, but is that concept that like it's out of the question that there could be somebody that is ruling and like could actually think about what's good for me despite my own behavior. It's like, look at the outcomes that we're having right now. Look at all the vices. I mean, I go back to the online gambling thing. I have watched that truly destroy friends of mine's lives. And to think like, well, guess what? They don't have the willpower to overcome it. So guess like their life just deserves to be over. I don't agree with that at all. Like I actually have more sympathy for those people, and I'll say like we need to do something because you can't govern yourself in this regard.
Yeah, and that's kind of the problem with like those people that are just hardcore libertarians.
Yep.
And they think like, oh, well, if everything was legal and if everything was okay and you could buy heroin for $1 down the store or like in the corner store or whatever, life would be better. And it's like, no, maybe humans, maybe we do need great leaders. Like you said, we need role models. The reason why things are the way they are in America is because we have no role models. It's like black people, they have no fathers in their household, and then white people, for the most part, they have cucks for dads.
Totally.
And that's why we have the fucked up world that we have today. And of course, that doesn't explain like everything. Having a good dad everywhere wouldn't fix everything, but we need leaders. And maybe sometimes a good leader that's necessary is a king. Maybe it is somebody who is like, you know what, we're not actually gonna follow these rules because they don't get enforced anyways, and let's actually fix things. Maybe we should look out for the people that can't really look out for themselves. Maybe it's actually a responsibility for us. Some people, they can't control those impulses. Maybe as a fellow American, instead of letting your American brother fucking kill himself by overdosing, maybe you should step in and do something.
Right. Well, I of course agree wholeheartedly, and it's really disturbed me, especially seeing the state of modern women. Who the hell are these fathers? Like really, like who are they that they let? I mean, I remember when I was in college, I knew plenty of like girls that were 20, 21 that like were getting boob jobs, nose jobs, on the dollar of their dad, or their dad's like financing a trip to Bali, and then these girls they're they're so deluded that they think that all this DEI isn't even a factor in the fact that they have this like fake email job that makes over 100K, but like, you know, and they're sluts at the same time. Truly, who are these dads that, you know, I think the real answer is that they are beholden to their wives and they're cucked by their wives to the degree that like
100%.
that they don't have the leadership and strength of will to put their foot down. But seriously, man, I mean, that's got to be the biggest epidemic ever, is the lack of good fatherhood towards the modern women. I can't believe it. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually insane. If you were to look at America or the West in general, like take the entire timeline and just put it on a board and just watch like the different groups and see how they deteriorate. It's crazy because people talk about, like with young men, the abandonment of young men, which is true, 100%. But you look at the young women and it's like, dude, the slutification, the horrification of women. It's so insane. I think there was a statistic I saw where it came out, and this is brand new. This happened like a month ago, where they interviewed like 12-year-old girls, and these 12-year-old girls on this study basically said that they see OnlyFans as like a good career. Yep. Like it would be a preferable career for them. And it's like, bro, what the fuck? How is that even remarkably?
It's crazy like that's right. That's even on the table,
dude.
Yeah,
you can't even have words.
You know, I do. Again, this is like come with some perspective from age, but I have some sympathy for the fact that these girls, and especially like the attractive ones, they don't recognize it, but you know, they have all of their value at 21. And I think the comparison of like being a hot girl is like would be like being a famous guy, in the sense that, you know, if you're a famous dude, you're getting invited to everything. You're always everybody's nice to you. You're getting praise all the time, even when you're not doing anything. And as a girl, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense as to why they wouldn't indulge in that. Mm-hmm. So I do have a little bit of, now it drives me crazy. There's no doubt about that. But I mean, especially like really the hot ones, I do get it. I get why they, you know, I remember in college, like there would be girls that were not even that hot, you know, getting DM'd by NFL players, getting DM'd by famous people. And it's like, that will go to your head. And also on the dating apps too.
Oh my gosh.
They, again, like not a very hot chick, she'll get 1,000 likes in a day in a major American city. It's like, okay, well, what would that do to your head if you were in that position? I certainly know it would go to my head very quickly. If I felt that like valuable and wanted in that sense. But we got to do something about that. I don't know what the real answer is obviously disenfranchise them from politics and the workforce. But
it's like just take them out of all of that. And that's crazy because you know what's funny? Being like in this space and kind of doing this stuff, and I've collaborated with a bunch of different people. I've had a lot of conversations, but that's like the conversation nobody really dives into. So if you and I ever actually do this again, which I'm sure we will, we should actually dive into that, because that's a major problem, and nobody I feel like nobody takes it as serious as you and I are because like we've been through it. Like you're talking about going through college, like going through like the hookup culture. Like I was a big part of that. And you see these things, it's like, yeah, you got to have some level of compassion and mercy, but we definitely do have to bring back shaming. Like that's for sure. But also like, how can you not expect young women to feel this way if this is going to give them what they want, especially if it gives them what they want quickly? You know, it's an instant.
It's the instant gratification, which is, that's appealing to anybody if you're a human. Sorry, it just is. It's part of the human condition. And we've gotten away from this idea even of the human condition existing. We think, a lot of people, especially like secular atheists, or particularly like secular liberals, they don't even acknowledge so many facets of like what it just fundamentally is to be human. And that's one of them. Like the proposition of immediate gratification that doesn't seem to have that many downsides in the moment is going to be very appealing. And I mean, dude, I went on a date with this chick a few weeks ago. She's probably 25. And what is the first thing that she says? It's well, while I'm young, I don't want to be, bound to the same city. I want to live in here and here and here. And they don't understand it seems like they don't even have a concept of trade-offs. They don't get that, like, if you were to spend your 20s like that, you no longer have the value of like your youth. You're trying, and and we can wait if you want to get into this on another podcast, but it's like Fuentes says, where it's, they want the man to have all the accountability and none of the responsibility, and the same thing where they want to wait, they want all the benefits without wagering any of the accountability. And I think abortion is the best exemplification of that. The fact that abortion is even a political discussion is so discrediting to our discourse. And what is that fundamentally? It is trying to legislate away responsibility. You want all the benefits of, being a fucking slut, and you aren't even willing to, it's not like some guarantee that you're going to get pregnant. That's what's crazy. It's like, you can't even comprehend the dice roll.
There's a lot. There's like so many things you can do to prevent it too.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're not even going to do any of that. And then now, like, it is the ultimate, you have been completely removed from accountability. It is the ultimate sign of that women in this nation, this day and age, they have no accountability whatsoever.
Yep.
And it's supposed to be in this society where we're all equal, but it's just not. And yeah, like, we should probably say that, because that, honestly, we need to talk about that. I'm not even lying. Like, that's something people talk about, like the abortion aspect, but like what we were mentioning with like the dating and stuff.
Yeah.
That's important, dude. And every guy I already know is going to be like, yo, yes, please talk about that.
Let's do it then, for sure.
I'm down. But actually, and I could keep talking, but I don't know how much room I have for the recording.
Yeah. No, it's all good.
We've been going for almost 3 hours. It doesn't even feel like that, man.
No, dude. So it does not feel like it at all.
So this was pretty beneficial. But I would say, like, if there's any like closing thoughts that you would have to any of the stuff we've been talking about, what would you have any?
I would really just say, and this is advice to myself too, don't naively and ignorantly like trust the plan in the sense that like so many retards do, but continue to have the faith that there is a purpose to this, and that the suffering is meaningful, and I guess just have that trust, that it is for something, even if it doesn't seem like that in the moment. And like I said, that's mostly me talking to myself, because I need that reminder just as much as everybody else. And also refrain like I was saying, refrain from the radical thought process, not because I mean like radical in terms of like extreme comparison, because all this stuff is only radical if you compare it to like a liberal frame of mind, which is already radical in itself. But I'm saying don't capture yourself to a world that you want to exist. Understand the world you live in and adjust your model in accordance with reality rather than trying to adjust reality to your lens. That's all I'd say. You got anything?
No, like it's like 100%. Like what we have to do as young men, as Gen Z men, and millennial men, because more or not, we're kind of in the same boat, and
Yeah.
we have to be. We can't black pill in the sense of thinking that like it's all over and there's no chance that we can make it out of this. It's like we have ancestors that have lived through worse. We can do this, and we have been placed here for a reason. Like we're here for a reason. You're not just here to be some slave and just smoke weed and be an idiot and die. There's more to this. There's more to life. There's more to being an American. And totally. I think if anybody's capable of turning this around, it's definitely us. It's definitely our generation. And we don't need everybody. Yeah. We just need those that are willing and capable. That's it.
Yep.
And I think this was a great discussion. I think there's a lot here. I loved talking to you, man. And
me too.
You're really good at this. Your thought process, even with just like off the cuff talking, like people love this because you actually think. Even in the moment, it's dude, amazing discussion. And
thank you. And likewise.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate it. And I'm just, I look forward to having more talks, and I look forward to the book. Like when that book comes out, man, I want to bring you on. I want to interview the book. I'm going to read the book. I'm excited, and I'm excited for what you're going to achieve and what you're going to do, because you're going to be great, man. I already know it. Like if anybody, it's going to be you for sure. So
thank you, man. I really appreciate it. I truly feel the same way. I mean, dude, we could do this regularly, man. It was awesome. And it's also great to kind of flesh out our ideas in real time too. Anyway, I sincerely enjoyed it as well.
Yeah. Well, yeah, man, I'm totally down. I'm totally down for that. But so is like, where can people find you? I know everybody probably knows, but just for the sake of like the actual like ending to the video,
sure.
Where are you at?
YouTube, the Right Wing Coalition, the most basic name ever.
Based.
And Twitter, the RW Coalition, also same title, or same like actual handle. And I mean, Rumble, you can try and find me. I don't actually even know what the handle technically is, but that's really where I'm at right now.
Well, dude, it was great talking to you, man. I enjoyed the conversation. I look forward to more in the future. And guys, I'm pretty sure all of you watch his channel already, but if you don't, go watch him. Go subscribe. I'm going to link his Rumble as well. Go follow him on Rumble. Follow him on X. He's posting amazing things like every day. But yeah, man, this was a great talk and I enjoyed it. But for the rest of you, enjoy the rest of your day. As always, Jesus Christ is King of Kings, Lord of Lords, America first, and we will see you all later.